I hate to break the fishing news up, your Chuck, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down, your Chuck.
Yep. All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Welcome in episode 212 of the Real Life Podcast. It is a Thursday edition. I'm Tyler, your Remchuck. As always, whether it's Monday, whether it's Thursday, no matter what day of the week it is, we are brought to you by the fine folks at Japa Machinery. How about this for a promotion to get your weekend started? Maybe you need heavy machinery for the weekend. They're running a promotion right now, 10% off their book rates for equipment rentals. If you could give them a shout if you need heavy-duty machinery, call them, visit them online, visit them on Instagram. Visit them wherever. Just go walk into the store if you want to. 10% off all equipment rentals. That sounds like a banging deal. All right, episode 212. This is one I'm very excited for. Wanye's here. Baggedmilk's here. And you know who else is here?
We are back.
Coom. Coom returns to the podcast world.
We are back. Officially, we're back.
Cam, for those who didn't know where you were, I mean, you're sitting right now drinking a Guinness. So you're still living the culture of Europe, even though you're back. But tell us what you've been up to the last, what has it been, 8 months? Has it been a year?
It's been a year now.
Oh, really?
It's I left in late August of 2019, went to Ireland, and now I'm back. I spent about half of that trip locked down because of the coronavirus pandemic, but right now locked down again.
You guys had coronavirus there too?
Yeah, they had the coronavirus there too. They had their own version, like a leprechaun version.
Didn't Boris Johnson get it?
Yes.
Boris Johnson, yeah, he did have the coronavirus, yeah. It was awkward. It was uncomfortable.
Is being locked down in a foreign land with nary a friend or foe or a family member worse or better?
I liked it, actually. We the lockdown there never really was quite that bad. And
now, hold on. Back up, because I want to know what your brain was doing while you were dealing with the prospect of a killer flu pandemic. When did you hear about it first?
Well, I kind of heard about it back in December because me and my girlfriend were going on a trip to India, and there was some people there that were like, you know, they're getting a bit anxious about it, and because it was, you know, close proximity to China, right? And then I have one friend who's from China.
So you're like sitting in front of the Taj Mahal, and you're like, hey, do you hear the scuttlebutt?
I did actually go to the Taj Mahal, but at no point during my experience at the Taj Mahal did I worry at all.
You were shooting the shit with somebody who had just come from China, or just the news was different because you were closer to China?
Yeah, it was mostly because we were there, and it was just like, you know, you're in like a different place, a lot of culture shock. It was my first time in Asia.
For sure, that's fucked up.
I was chatting with a friend back home who was from China, and they were like, you know, this is going to be really bad. And I was like, oh, okay. So then we get back to Ireland.
So hold on. You're just like, oh, that's fine. Who cares?
Well, I mean, what can you do, right? Like,
well, you're in one of the most populous places on earth. The first move
at that time, yeah,
skedaddly do would be my first play.
So yeah, we were only there for a couple of weeks, and then we got back. And then, so
has it picked up momentum now? It's January over the New Year.
Yeah, so then it's January. I get back. I'm in Ireland, and it's, you know, it's not that big of a deal. People are talking about it a little bit, but it's not like it's not a thing yet, right? And then February rolls around, and it starts just kicking the shit out of Italy.
Yes, of course.
And that's pretty close, right? So, you know, you turn on the BBC, and it's just nonstop. Like, everyone in Italy is going to die, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
And what are you doing at this point?
Well, I was, so I got a part-time job working at a restaurant at a hotel there. Sure. So there was a bunch of travelers coming from around the world, and then kind of slowly as March rolled around, like the amount of people that came into the hotel just waned off. And it got to the point where there was like 10 guests in the hotel in a night. And it was just like creepy as fuck.
Are you concerned at this point or no? What's your approach been, like public health wise? Are you like, this is fine, I'm worried, I'm not worried, I don't care, I care?
There's always like, of course it's stressful and jarring to be a part of. Like, I'm not overly worried for myself. Like, I feel like if I got the virus, I wouldn't die. But I do worry about like my parents, right? Like, they're both in their 60s, and you know, that my mom has lung issues, and that would probably kill my mom. But like, you know, and then you see the numbers, like people are dying, and it's jarring to see. But I don't know. Like, I myself, I don't sit there and get super anxious every day. I just, you know, go and try and be careful out, like wear your mask, X, Y, and Z, like wash your hands a bunch, don't bite your fucking nails when you're in public and all that kind of stuff. It's not.
Oh, I'm bad.
I love biting my nails.
I know, so do I. So it's one of the most difficult changes for me is I can't bite my goddamn nails.
So were people in Ireland? So you were in Belfast while this was popping?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and were people well behaved?
See, it's a difficult thing there because Belfast is kind of like it's like the forgotten bastard child of the United Kingdom because you have a bunch of people there that are like loyal to the United Kingdom. They're like, we're British, so we're following what Boris Johnson has to say. And there's a bunch of people there that are like, no, this is not the United Kingdom. This is the north of Ireland. We're going to.
Thus, we have completely different science.
Yeah. So the Republic of Ireland, part of Europe, a bit more of a different approach. Their lockdown was a lot more staunch. They were like, everyone's locking down, like everyone's, no one's going out. And then, England is a little bit more like, I don't give a fuck. Like, we can fight this because we're the Brits. Like, nothing can bring us down.
Right.
They're out there punching the air,
Yeah, exactly.
Thank God Boris Johnson.
Approach.
Thank God Boris Johnson didn't die, Coombsy, eh?
Oh God, he gave some of the most like his communications in regards to this whole thing have been so like wildly incoherent. There was one time when I think it was probably about May or June, and they're starting to like open up a little bit more, mostly like mainland England focused. And Boris Johnson goes on, he's like, "Go to work, take the bus, but be careful. Don't go to work. Don't take the bus, but go to work and then come home and then don't get the virus." And that was pretty much like
good Boris Johnson.
Yeah. No.
It's very weird because like I remember watching all this, and watching BBC is a much more sane place to get your news than anything local, except CBC is fine as shit. But I was watching it and I remember like Boris Johnson's like, this is all bullshit. And then it's like next day, Boris Johnson in hospital with killer flu. I'm like,
he was out for like a week. Nobody heard him. And then he came back and he could barely stand up. And he was
the Minister of the Treasury, what's his name? The skinny guy.
Oh, I can't remember.
He's great. I can't remember his name, but he's fantastic. And he was like, oh no, Boris Johnson's totally fine. You're like, oh, he's lying. He might be the next prime minister.
Everyone thought Boris was going to die for sure.
Or they roll a clone out. That's what I'm of the mind. But we don't have to get into that here and there. So then what happened? So then you're just like, hey, I'm going to get the fuck out of here or what?
No, we just, so there was a point in mid-March, I think it was it was the middle of March, right before like the real lockdown came down. And me and some friends went up to Newcastle, which is a town kind of north coast. And I got a phone call from my parents and they were like, hey, like, all of the airports and all the flights are shutting down. So like you guys, you're either going to come back or you're there. And we were kind of like, well, like, fuck it. Like, we'll just stay. Like, we have a lease at our place until the beginning of October, and I'd really rather not just pay that and come home. So
hold on, you're paying a lease right now in Europe?
No, well, I am right now. I paid for the month of
you're a baller.
The last month, but
baller. I just stayed until the last minute. I just stayed until the very last second of my lease and then come home.
Yeah, pretty much. So I was like, well, we paid for all this. Like, we paid for a year of a place and experience it. So we just stayed and experienced.
And your girlfriend's doing a program over there, correct?
Yeah, she's taking a Master's of Arts at Queen's University. So she's in the middle.
A Master of Arts?
An MA in Arts and Culture Management. And she's trying to finish up.
What is that? What does one do with that?
It's a lot of the people in the program are kind of moving into careers where you're managing things like maybe like museums, music venues. Oh. It's a pretty big thing there specifically.
Oh, you know what? Those are all closed forever. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of the difficulty with a lot of people writing their dissertations on like, I don't know, like concerts, festivals, and shit like that. And like, how the fuck do you write a dissertation on that right now when Lord knows when there's going to be another concert again?
Wow, these things work themselves out. But yes, you're right. So it is a quasi going through Blockbuster Executive Training Academy during the last days of Blockbuster. How was the experience, COVID notwithstanding, of going over?
It was really good. It was a really good time. It was a really cool and interesting place to be. It's definitely a unique place because you're kind of in Ireland, you're kind of in England. You kind of got like an Irish culture, but if you've ever been to the Republic of Ireland, the place is a little bit of a gong show.
I went to Dublin for 2 days over St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
So my knowledge of Ireland is not what Irish people want me to know.
No, that's pretty much what it's like all year round, to be totally honest. It doesn't really change. That's just the energy all the time.
Are they still big into spray tans?
Oh yeah, they love
spray tans.
Studios too.
God almighty, every other business is a spray tan.
I know a guy there who quit a job as a sous chef at a restaurant who was getting paid quite well to work at a tanning studio.
They're
Oh,
that
yeah.
big?
They love it, man.
Well, because it's so
there's no
dark,
sun.
right? There's no sun, so
I've
everybody's
seen the
crazy.
sun more in this past 3 days that I've been in Edmonton than I did in the past calendar year.
Wow.
What are
Was
you
there-
talking? Just like rainy, drizzly, kind of
Yeah.
overcast?
It's just like muggy and overcast, and like it's just every day it'll rain a little bit.
That's fucked.
It'll sprinkle.
Was there one moment, like, had you been to Europe before this, obviously?
Yeah.
So you kind of had like a general sense of what you were getting into, but was there a moment when you first went over of like one thing that happened where you're like, oh shit, that definitely does not happen back home?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the first night that we were in Belfast, so we took we flew into Dublin and met up with some friends that we know that live in Kilkenny, which is in the Republic, and stayed there for 2 nights. Then we came up to Belfast on the first night, so we get into our Airbnb and then take a taxi into.
They have Airbnbs there too?
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
So it's like a regular functioning society. They have water and electricity and,
Water?
and currency and an economy and everything.
What?
So we jump in a taxi and we go to this famous bar downtown called the Duke of York, and it's just like it's basically what every Irish pub in North America aspires to be, but authentically.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, this is a good energy, and then we're just slamming Guinness and Jameson just to like feel the culture, and then there's these
Feel the culture.
That's what you do.
Get
You
there,
two
man.
blasting.
Yeah, just you gotta get absolutely in on the
I'm
first night. Like,
Irish.
the right shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the Guinness just warms your wee soul, that kind of thing. And then, so we start chatting with just people around. There's these American soldiers who were stationed there for something. I can't remember what it was, but so I'm chatting with this one guy, and he's like, "Let me go up and buy you a drink." So I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we go up, and he's like, "Let's get a shot," and I'm like, "Sure, whatever. Like, fuck it, get what you want." And he tries to order an Irish car bomb.
What?
And the bartender looks and he's like, "We don't do that here." And
Yeah,
the
no
American soldier
shit.
is like, no, like it's this. Like you put these concoctions together and it's an Irish car bomb. And then people start looking and it's like, man, like
Then he calls it an airstrike, eh?
there's people in this bar that probably know someone that got killed in the car bombing.
No, of course.
So that
It'd
was
be like
when I
walking
realized
into
that.
it'd be like walking into New York and ordering like 9/11.
That's exactly what somebody else said when we came back to the table and we were talking about it, and that there was a person that was quite literally like, "Oh, like this would be like me going and ordering a fucking 9/11."
Is that what he said? Yeah.
That's what another Irish person that was around said to the group of Americans. Yeah.
Had I been sitting there, I'd have been like, "You're right, my Irish friend." That's what I thought.
Wow.
Your M-Chuck, you would do well to go do a year sports stuff over there and get a weird worldview, but still be involved in hockey.
That was great.
Well, weren't you doing some stuff with the Belfast Giants?
Yeah. So
You could do that, your M-Chuck.
I
You could
could.
be that guy.
Yeah,
Be
you
the
could
GM of the Belfast Giants.
You could start in goal for the Belfast Giants.
Well,
They're a good team, man. They're
What'd you do for them, Quincy?
I reached out to them a little bit before I left and just asked if they had any. Like I didn't really care to get a full-time job, or obviously because it's it's a small league. Like we all know that that's not going to be a thing. So I reached out and I was like, "Oh, here's my experience working in content production.
Of course.
nice.
So what do you have?" And they were like, "Oh, you can come and just I don't know, help out with the website and put content on the website." And I was like, "Sure, right up my alley." So I just went to every game, watched it, and then just threw a fucking thing on the website. And that was pretty much what I did. But then it became like a pretty sweet social thing because I got to know like the coach, the GM, all the people that work.
Liam
in media.
Reddick?
Yeah, Liam Reddick was there, but he never.
Did you
came
talk
out.
to Liam Reddick?
No, I actually never talked to him because
Oh.
he's there with a wife and kids because he's got Scottish citizenship.
Oh.
So that's why he moved over there. So
You
he's,
should, your M-Chuck. That'd be awesome, buddy. You'd have such a good time. You don't need to like derail your fast track career. You've already done it all. You're 8 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
You do well to go, and you can still be in sports stuff.
Totally. You can, the world's so small now with communication. It's so easy to do whatever. It was a fucking cool ass experience because you basically just got to go and get drunk in Ireland with the professional hockey team. It was very fun.
What are the
Sam,
so you mentioned it's a small league, but what's the atmosphere in those games like?
It's really good. It's an interesting mix because I can't talk to the rest of the league because there's 10 teams across. There's the one Belfast team. It's obviously the only team in Ireland. So there's 2 ice rinks in Ireland. One is the Odyssey Arena that they play at, and then there's a practice rink about an hour north. Those are literally the only 2 on the island. But England's got a lot more, obviously, and then there's a handful of teams in Scotland, a couple in Wales too. So I don't really know the atmosphere is pretty hit and miss depending on which team which city it is, right? Like some are well run, some are a joke, like standard minor league shit. But
was there any weird Irish isms of watching hockey where they're like, we call that a clap-tato or something?
I will say the fans are very enthusiastic, but they don't 100% exactly know like what's going on. Like these people mostly come probably from like a background growing up playing like either soccer or rugby, so they'll think like a lot of contact should be called as a penalty.
I went to a professional game in Norway, in Oslo, and then I went to another one in Helsinki, and it was so weird because like in Norway, the highest scoring player on each team wears a silver helmet.
Yeah. And
then the highest scoring player in the league wears a gold helmet. And if it changes hands in the game, they trade the helmets.
So you got to wear this helmet.
And I'm like, this is fucked up. And I'm like, anywho, where do I get a beer? And it's like I tried to order a live Panda beer. They're like, a beer? What? We eat flapjacks with jam. I'm like, what? And then sure shit, you eat flapjacks with jam.
Actually, the wildest is I went to Germany in December and went to a game in a town called Augsburg, about 45 minutes out of Munich. And Jesus Christ, the fans, they were fucking insane.
You would love this shit, your M-Chuck. You would love to go around. Like, you could make content for us about it.
I don't think you understand how much of a homebody I am, and the idea of
this
being
is
on
why
a plane
you need to do it.
But the idea of being on a plane for that long turns me off as well.
But it'll turn you into international, your M-Chuck. It'll turn you into you still love hockey, but you've seen some shit. I've got my friends who play in the NHL, right? The one thing I feel bad for them about, other than the fact that they're ultra rich and they got hot and cold running chicks, they literally haven't been anywhere. And I feel like because you're in the media and you're so focused on it, I didn't go anywhere till I was 28, and it's my only regret in life other than the 06 Game 7 finals. You should go around and do some fun shit. I know you're a homebody, but it'd be good for you. It'd open up your worldview.
Yeah, it probably would. Pretty much all I know is like Edmonton and St. Albert. So
don't you want to go see German hockey in Germany?
I do. Like, I do want to see.
Don't you want to see Liam Reddick and be like, "Fuck you, Liam Reddick"?
Yeah, don't you want to come to the Wee Bar after a fucking Belfast Giants game and just fucking slag Guinness?
Well, I'm not a big Guinness guy. So what do you drink there?
That's what I said too. When I moved,
you have every drink.
I drank 1 pint of Guinness before I moved, and that was all I drank.
Yeah, every bar around the world is the same shit now. You can order a Bud Light anywhere you want.
But no, the Guinness there is specifically better. Like, oh my god, like everyone says that, and you sound like such an asshole saying it, but it's so fucking true. It's so good.
One time I liked a tweet, and I like liking tweets, but this tweet said, "Hey, I like Guinness," and then the other person goes, "Hey, have you ever been to Ireland?" And then blah, 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 blah.
I know. I feel like such a loser saying it.
Cam, spit some truth at your M-Check here, Coom, and get him to do this. Spit some truth. Hit him. Tell him why it's good for him to do it.
Or tell me why I wouldn't like it.
You would, though. You'd love it. You'd come back and be like, oh, fuck, you know what? The world's a small place, and I remember this weird thing now that no one else knows but me, and it makes life cooler.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's a challenging experience, like going and living somewhere in a different place. We don't know anybody, but it makes all the things you do there like very rewarding because it's such a grind.
Yeah,
and
everything's scary. Going to the store is like an adventure.
Like you're in a place where you're like, okay, like this is the United Kingdom / Ireland. It's like it's pretty Western world, but then you go into a store and you cannot tell what the fuck people are saying.
Yeah,
and they look at you like you're an alien. And and like they hear my accent, and they're like, oh, here's some fucking American. And I very quickly need to like shove into the sentence that I'm from Canada. And
you're just wearing a Mountie uniform around with a full Canadian flag on display.
Every sentence ends with A, like really emphatic A.
I think I started saying A lot more when I lived there because I wanted people to know. It was especially a thing during the lockdown.
You just kept Canadian money on you at all times. Like, can I pay with this? I can't.
No, I can't pay with that there because it's literally worthless there.
Canadian money?
Oh yeah, I think a Canadian dollar buys you 55 pence.
The fuck! I remember I was in London and I walked past the Canadian embassy and this person came out and they had like a Canadian flag or something and I looked at them and I was with Josh and Sam, the Australian guys, and I'm like, and Jay, I'm like, hey, I'm from Canada. And the guy was like, great. And just kept walking. And I was like, oh, we're supposed to be friends.
Everybody in Belfast, like every time you jump in a phone a cab, they'd be like, oh, where are you from? And then you'd be like, oh, like I'm from Canada. And they're like, oh, like I got a wee cousin that moved out there to, what's it called? Toronto. I know, I visited them once. And we went to the Niagara Falls and it was just stunning.
Did you sing with or without you back at them and just hit them with some stereotype shit?
They don't fuck with U2 up there at all.
U2's too big, right?
They don't like U2. They're sellouts because it's like nobody gives a fuck about U2 because it's just rich guys lecturing poor people on like how to be nice.
But that's everywhere. Like I feel like once you hit a certain level of success, you're so big for so long, no one in your hometown likes you anymore. You've like gone so big, you're like the villain.
I call that the Nickelback syndrome.
Yeah.
So I thought U2 was going to be more of a thing there, but whenever I talked about it, people would get like aggravated by it, and I was like, okay,
Sorry.
no U2.
One of the things I loved doing in high school was telling, like, I used to wear U2 t-shirts all the time, then argue with people about whether U2 was a good band or not. And I'm like, it's like the Nickelback theory, exactly. I'm like, I can understand you don't like U2 because they're so big, or you hear it all the time, or whatever the fuck. But don't tell me these songs aren't good.
Well,
you cannot like
the
them.
80s stuff, like where the streets have no name, Unforgettable Fire.
Oh
like,
my god, unbelievable.
Sunday Bloody Sunday, especially when you live there and you kind of experience like the aftermath of like the social issues and the Civil War there, and then you're like, wow, this is pretty heavy shit.
When we went away for the first time every year, Amtrak, me and Jay, right? And we were like, okay, like what do you do when you travel? We don't know anything. It's like you just go around. So we joined a bus trip, right? And that's where we met Josh and Sam, right? The Australian guys. Going around in another country is just a very interesting experience because you're so smart too, right? But you have like such limited world experiences that you'll be like, man, I went to 7-Eleven today and they tried to sell me a lemon croissant with almonds on it. And now I just don't know what to think anymore. And like, that'll be good for you. It'll be good for you to get out of your routine.
It's good
but you can
get in a situation where you're a tourist and people try to take advantage of you.
But you can do stuff you like. Like you're not going on vacation with your parents or they're going to drag you to a botanical garden. If you're like, I want to go to a
beautiful botanical garden in Belfast.
Oh, shut up, Coom. Nobody wants to go to one of those. But you can go to games, right?
Yeah.
Like getting hammered and going to German Elite League games and seeing some weird player that you remember from the draft.
Like Olivier Waugh was the goalie of the German team.
Olivier Waugh's over there?
Yeah. Waugh was the goalie.
See?
It was a big deal that like, they had a cutout. We took photos with the cutout and everything. It's hilarious.
I didn't go to a nightclub one night in Berlin because I turned on the TV in my hotel room and Fred Brathwaite was in net. And the game went to triple overtime and he made like 71 saves. And everybody went out and I watched Fred Brathwaite play the game of his life.
What the fuck?
It was like 2012. 2012 there,
It seemed like you were explaining something that happened in like 1990.
No, Freddie B. No, Freddie
come down or not yet.
No. Freddie B went to Europe and played for years after.
He played forever.
Ever.
When we were, this is a funny story regarding Belfast. When we were in Vegas, Coom, there was two people in like the section with us, or a family, all four of them. They're all wearing Belfast Giants gear.
Ooh.
And I saw them and I was like, do you know Coom? What the fuck? You're right. Yeah.
He's the alternate web contributor.
In 2012, Freddie Brathwaite, who would have been 41 years old at that point, had a .924 save percentage in 40 games with Adler Mannheim.
Does it have a game-by-game breakdown? There's one game where it was like a fucking shelling, and he played unbelievable.
I really want to find this.
I also like that. I'm looking at the roster for. Sorry, go ahead, Wanye.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
No, I'm just looking at the Belfast Giants roster right now. There's a couple of former friends on this one that Coomsey would have got to see. Curtis Hamilton.
Curtis, that's a funny story about him actually. His aunt is my next door neighbor.
Whoa!
What?
We learned that
in Belfast
when I was there. No, my like back home when my parents.
Oh.
So we learned that, and one of his friends went to high school in Kelowna with my girlfriend.
Adam Keefe is the coach. Is he related to
Sheldon Keefe's little brother? Yeah.
See,
really?
Look at this. Yeah. Look at all these ties. You Remchuk, you'd love this shit, man.
You'd love it.
You'd love it. You could go over to Ireland. They actually speak English. Well, at least something that sounds like English.
Most of Western Europe, you can speak English. You're fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or I say you go in the shit, you Remchuk, and get dropped right off in the middle of Bangkok, where nobody speaks any English whatsoever.
No, it's a different. That would be too much for your Remchuk for his first play. If he goes to Europe and he can still live like a fairly Nordic, like going to hockey games, having beer, he won't get freaked out. You don't drop him in.
We could drop him off somewhere in like Scotland, like Glasgow's got a team, so throw him there, and he can be kind of.
If you travel around Europe, your Remchuk is so cheap, right? Because everything's like a $9 flight on Ryanair.
Yeah, everything.
I'd also really like to see Tyler start wearing kilts as well. So I like Scotland a lot.
Well, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so it's not like I can really go anywhere right now, but
you can plan. You can think about what you want to do in the other side.
Coom, what was it like traveling?
My visa goes until August 2021, so you can come back with me if you want.
What was it like traveling back in the middle of a pandemic? Was it weird?
Yeah, what was that all about?
The flight from Dublin to Toronto. Actually, okay. So before I get into this, the getting back part was a fucking clown show because my flights got canceled 4 times.
What? They
Because you were
canceled
supposed to
there's not
come
enough
back.
people?
Yeah.
You were
I had a
supposed to come
plan-
back originally in April, right?
April. So it was the end of April or beginning of April because we were like, okay, like the others are doing pretty well. We'll go back and visit in April playoffs.
You son of a bitch. Look what you did.
I ruined the whole thing. And then, so we got an email from Air Canada being like, it's canceled. It's like, well, that's not really surprising. Like, fair enough. So then we try to come back in like August, and then, June rolls around, flights have been canceled. But it's with WestJet. So it was like, oh, the leg of your flight from Dublin to Calgary has been canceled, but your Calgary to Edmonton flight is fine. So that's fucking pointless. Anyways, then we book again. And then within like 5 days, that's been canceled again. So then we reach out to the Canadian Embassy in Dublin, and they're like, you know what, like, you really have to like book a flight through Toronto because that's the only way it's going to go. So then we had to book through fucking Pearson Airport, which is not ideal because, then you have to take like a really busy flight. So our flight from Dublin to Toronto was fine. It was like probably 30% full. So I had my own row, like no problem. But then we get on the one Toronto to Edmonton, and it's packed. Why? It's just jarring. Like it's full. Like everyone's wearing a mask, so it's okay. But like people are coughing and sneezing and shit, and you're like, oh fuck this.
It's actually in a plane. If they have a HEP filter on the plane, it's actually not that bad.
It shouldn't be a big deal, but it's just you're anxious, and then all of a sudden, like I'm a really bad like nail biter, especially when I'm on a flight. So I'm sitting there, I realize that I'm like putting my hand under my mask to bite my nails, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And people are looking at me and shit.
You're back at your parents' lockdown for the next couple of weeks?
No, we're staying at a place in Bellerive. My girlfriend's got a family friend who has like an empty house that they rent out, and it just happens to be empty right now. So we're here for 2 weeks.
Damn. So what's the play for you over the next 2 weeks? Just sit and drink Guinness, like watch sports.
Sit and drink Guinness, watch the Blue Jays as they go on their shocking playoff run.
Yeah,
I don't think Coom's life has really altered all that much. I think he's got access
same energy.
to
It doesn't
baseball.
really change for me.
Yeah,
I sit around and watch sports and drink Guinness and look at posts, and that's about it.
Usually,
What was it like? What was it like for you
though?
though, Cam? Because you were in Ireland, obviously massive time difference, but you were still covering a bunch of shit for all of our team sites. Like, what was it like trying to follow sports in a time zone that just didn't make sense?
The time change is actually really good because, so, for example, like, the sites that I focus on, like I write for OM, Leafs Nation, and Blue Jays Nation. So I'm 5 hours ahead of the Eastern time zone, 7 hours ahead of you guys in the Mountain time zone. So if I woke myself up at 9 or 10 a.m., I could dick around for an hour and a half, get myself to a Starbucks by noon, or like Queen's University by noon, coffee shop by noon, whatever, restaurant.
Hold on, wait. You would go on Queen's and pretend to be a student?
Yeah.
You shady fuck. Would you see you all at the library for
I
this?
would take the access card and go into the graduate students' library.
You aren't allowed in there.
Fuck it. So
breaking the law.
I paid enough tuition as an international student for the both of us to use it, so I think it's fair. So I would go in there and just chill. But anyways, if I'm there by like noon, then I can go on Reddit and see like what's the top post, like what happened last night, and slam out a post, schedule at Oilers Nation for 7 a.m. Edmonton time, which is 2 p.m. my time. So there's so much time to just get shit done. And then, it's easy to stay up for the Eastern teams. Like a 5 p.m. start here is a midnight start there, but it's not easy to stay up for an Oilers game. Like if they're playing at 8 Edmonton time, that's like 2 a.m. Or 3 a.m. Belfast time, which kind of sucks. I don't like doing that.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
You can still do all your hockey stuff, your M-Chuck. You can still do it all from over there.
You're really trying to get me out of this continent, hey, Wanye?
Yeah, you should come on us.
Well, I think
come for a wee spin around the UK. It's that's what I'd say. Like your first time traveling, go and do your basic shit. So go England, Scotland, Ireland, and maybe dip into like France.
But we're also talking to you
and Iceland.
We're also talking to the guy who, when we went to Vegas in February, that he came in, we were probably in Vegas for about 3 hours. He's like, boys, I think I just spent my weekend budget in the first day.
Yeah, that's because that fucking game with the wheel was bullshit.
But the rest of the world is in a giant casino. Come on.
Yeah,
I can just see him. He's betting, though. He's got the itch. He's got to be betting somehow.
Betting over there, man. The Brits love betting. Like the fucking William Hill little betting boutique on every single corner, man. Everyone's freaking out about prop bets and shit.
So it's like completely legal over there? Like you can just go to a little store on this corner, then go place your bets on fucking whatever?
Have you ever watched standing there itching like they're just like trying to get their fix of coke?
Yeah, like a Guy Ritchie movie where they've got like the betting stations that tried to rob it. I can't remember.
Yeah, they're betting on random like Slovenian soccer. I think during the lockdown when there was no sports, there was one league going, and it was the Belarusian football.
Yes, they didn't believe in. They said vodka.
Belarus was like, oh, you can kill it with vodka.
Yep.
And they just kept going. So then everybody was betting on that, like batshit crazy.
See, Tyler, you'd fit right in, man.
You'd fit right in.
I would. I'm getting ready for the NFL season right now, and I'm like full degen on it. Coom, you mentioned watching the Blue Jays. I'm going to derail the conversation here and talk some baseball. Holy shit, this team.
What in the fuck? Why? Why do you get to do that? Why?
Because
Coom works perfectly nice conversation.
We got the Toronto Blue Jays expert on the line.
Yeah, it's a Blue Jays Nation. He runs Jays Nation. That's promoting one of our brands. This team is a group. They're just a heart attack. They're a massive heart attack.
Yeah, they haven't pitched like a non-high leverage inning since like, I don't know, July 31st.
That was just like when the fucking season started?
Yeah, it's like every single inning has been the fucking like wild card game for the past month.
The season was summed up beautifully in that game where Taiwan Walker just like loaded the bases every inning and then got out of it every fucking inning. It was hilarious.
The bullpen just came in and just slammed the door. Like we're watching far and away the best bullpen in Blue Jays history.
You think so, hey?
Oh yeah.
Even without, their numbers are great.
Without Giles, it's like, well, the whole thing is like, you know, with this weird season, there's no minor leagues. The Jays have like 6 guys who would be starting in AAA in their bullpen now.
Yeah.
So there's just so much talent.
So what, they can have like more players than they would normally have on the roster?
Yeah. So with the coronavirus, since there's no minor leagues, they're allowed to have 28 guys on their active roster.
Huh.
And then there's no minors, so the Jays have like Julian Merriweather, Thomas Hatch, Ryan Baraki,
Anthony Kane.
Pearson will be coming back into the pen. It's like,
I don't know who these people are, and I don't care. I laugh on Twitter so hard, Coom, because like I know you and I know your indignation in your tweets, but you never provide any context. And you're just like, that guy Flanagan just did that? Are you serious? And I always like it. I'm like, Coom. Like, what are you mad about, Wanye? I have no idea. I don't know what we're talking about.
One more Jays one for you, Coom. How deep do you think they can go? Like, what's the ceiling this year? Because like I see them getting matched up against the Indians potentially if they're in that 4-5 slot, and like I think they can beat Cleveland.
They can beat any team in the American League in a 3-game series. Just because it's a 3-game series, it's a joke. Like it's random. Like anything can happen. So like, you know, if you're the Jays, you're going to throw Hyunjin Ryu out in game 1, Taiwan Walker in game 2, and then if it gets to a game 3, you're probably going to go with the bullpen and do like Hatch, Merriweather, Baraki, Shun Yamaguchi, or some shit like that. And it's like, man, yeah, Pearson, exactly. So you have, and then the same thing with the Walker start. It's like maybe he just goes 3 innings, goes to the order once, and then Pearson comes out, gets 6 outs, and then Baraki 6 outs, and then, you know, Anthony K 6 outs, whatever. But they have so many weapons, and then. Yeah, the only difficulty is like how healthy are they going to be, right? Like,
that's a hard question to answer, right?
Taylor Hernandez comes back, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
tough to say about Hernandez, man. He's so up and down.
This is
I'm a big Hernandez guy. I always have
He's so up and down.
My buddy, when I was in Toronto, it would have been 2 years ago now, bought a Teoscar Hernandez jersey. That's how invested he's been in this guy since. Oh yeah, he bought a white Teoscar jersey, and he always tweets with his dad. His dad's hilarious on Twitter. Because his dad he'll tweet in like broken English, and if you reply something to him, he'll respond, and instead of like ha 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 ha, it's ja 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 ja.
The best.
Yeah, of course.
It's funny as fuck. Anyone have any other Europe questions for Coom? You mentioned before we started recording that the dairy products there are significantly better.
Well, yeah, because the throwback to earlier real life is when Jay, he probably still has it taped on his laptop.
Yeah, he never said it, but he wrote it on his computer and then never said it again.
He wanted to try and get Irish butter to be a thing. So we were asking if Irish butter is legitimately as good as Jay was selling it from months ago, or if this is just all hype.
Yes. Like, man, the dairy products there are unreal. Because, like, they have all this farmland there, and the cows just roam around. Like, it's not like North American like slaughterhouse situation where the cows never see the light of day. It's like the cows roam around, don't give a fuck, and just like eat grass all day. And then, you know, their products are insane. Like the milk, the cream, like sour cream, butter especially. Like, goddamn, the butter's good. And then you go to like the bakery and get a nice like fucking wheat thin sliced bread and put some butter on that thing. Fuck me.
Boom. Do you know that we're doing a bakery?
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
You know it's called bread and butter?
I responded to the message and said, let's get that bread. Oh, that was
That's right. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. That's literally what you just described without the Irish part is our whole...
the key.
That's our whole ethos, though. We're making our own butter.
So you're gonna have cows in the backyard, like roaming around free range?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I looked into it. You have to get to get Irish butter here. You have to get an import butter license. And it's generally only done by like companies that want to then go and sell it wholesale.
It's really hard to get things shipped back and forth. Like when I was over there, I was looking into there's like either your random Canadian, North American style things you miss, right? Like clamato juice and
peanut butter,
KD. Like looked into like getting that, and it was like KD would cost like 40 pounds to get like a pack sent in, and it was like, oh fuck.
So your end track. When I went to Asia, the thing I was petrified about was no peanut butter, right? And I was like, I can't do it. I can't go to Asia. Nope, I can't go because there's no peanut butter and fuck that shit. And my sister's like, right. Go buy 2 1-liter jars of peanut butter. The likelihood you'll go through that is 0. And everywhere I went, I ate so much peanut butter. People are like, what's that? Let me try it. I was like, get away from me. And I brought my peanut butter with me everywhere I went.
That's fascinating.
It is, man.
Like when you were packing for your trip, you're like, oh, can't forget to throw in these big-ass jars of peanut butter.
I wrapped my clothes around them.
Do you still carry peanut butter around at home now?
Well, I have a magnet on my toaster that says peanut butter is my boyfriend.
And you would also recall, Coom, when we used to have the Tuesday breakfast meetings, that Jay actually brought his own tub of peanut butter with him to a restaurant.
He picked it up on the trip, buddy. That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You bring your own alternate butter.
Meetings, man. That was
the old Commodore?
The Commodore.
Yeah,
Tyler would never know. Tyler was probably like 12 when we were doing this.
Yeah, no, he was. We'll take you to bread and butter now, Coom, and we'll get you a slab of bread and you can knock yourself up.
Mm-hmm. When's that opening?
Like December, hopefully.
What about the dog patch?
The dog patch, well, it's going to be built. Are we allowed to open that? I don't know if we're going to be allowed, what we're going to have to happen here. We might be shut till spring. It's going to be built. We're going to start doing DJ sets.
You're going to have...
We're going to be streaming everything. We're starting a Twitch account. We're starting a Spotify account. Like, shit's going to happen here. You'll see.
The Oilers Nation boys are doing a discotheque in Riverdale?
You're damn right. They're putting a nightclub in the river? That's terrible news, said the local resident.
Well, I mean, the residents in that area have done so much acid in their lives that, like, it'll just be like a shock back to the 70s for them.
Here's a good, like, we love the neighborhood of Riverdale, but there's some interesting characters that will oppose anything happening anywhere. And that's fine. Like,
I don't like change.
I was born on Twitter. I do not give one fuck. If you want to tell me off, like,
I reject the advent of industry.
Yeah, get in line. So they're like, oh, the guy across the street is so mad about the noise that he's installed a video camera on the front of his house to film the worksite 24/7 for violations of any sort. And I'm like, no shit. So what's the problem? He's really mad about the noise. He's deaf. And like, it's okay for deaf people to be mad about noise. I was like, what do you mean? This guy's deaf and he's mad about the noise? Like, that's the level of crazy that we have to deal with. It's like, people are like, I am livid about something that I think is happening, but I'm not quite sure. So we hope that something as loud as a bloody bakery baking isn't going to ruin the neighborhood. But the other place, yeah, the only place, the dog patch has like 30 seats. So small. So small. I don't know.
Episode 212, Real Life Podcast, brought to you by Japa. If I can derail this or put this back on the rails.
Throw a noodle shout out there too. Throw one of those in.
Oh, yeah. I guess we are at the 40-minute mark. We should let everyone know that we are also brought to you by Oodle Noodle.
That's us now.
What?
That's us now.
I don't know.
See, your MTech, you say gibberish like this if you went somewhere.
No Oodle Noodle in Ireland, so I'm sure Coom could get that skip the dishes over to his place.
No, it's called Deliveroo over there, actually.
It's called
Skip
what?
the dishes is
it's called Deliveroo.
Deliveroo?
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Skip the dishes is owned by a company in London.
It's Deliveroo is like a large man will show up with a smaller man in like a pocket, and the smaller man will pass you the food.
Whimsy!
And the smaller man's like a leprechaun.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
You were covering the Oilers from a distance, Coom, as we already touched on. But
one of the things I found in Ireland, Coom, was that I only ever hear people speak in an Irish brogue as a joke, like imitating an Irish person. So when I first got there, I was like, is everyone joking around? We don't talk like this for real, do we? And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, it's because there's so many different strains of accents there, right? Like every county and every area and every town has their own fucking accents. They're all mimicking each other. Like they're probably, whoever you saw doing that was probably just making fun of a Culture accent.
Well, just how people talk, I found, like, even though it's English and it's the King's English, like, but just it's very hard to understand.
And absolutely. it's so small too geographically that it's interesting that there's so many regional dialects for such a small area.
Because people don't travel, right? Historically, there hasn't been a lot of traveling, and it's been very depressed economically. So you have people that just stay their entire life in one region and never get outside and never hear like a Midwestern type accent unless it's on TV.
Yeah. People would hear our voices and be like, "You sound like the TV."
Really?
Oh yeah.
No, not really, but
okay.
That's usually the joke that I would make. I'd be like, "Well, I'm like definitely culturing you with my voice." No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, enjoy my smooth North American accent. What's your favorite bit of Irish slang that you picked up over there?
We. I can already tell you, it's we.
Oh, saying we, yeah. Saying we, that. It's a great way to calm what you're saying. Like, I never understood we when I first got there. It was like, I'll just get a wee bag. And it's like, what do you mean a wee bag? Like, is it a fucking small bag or is it a regular size bag? No, it's not about its size at all. It's just about calming down what you're saying. So the difference between saying, can I get a bag? And can I get a wee bag? Like,
what are you ordering a bag of in this instance? Crack cocaine?
Yeah, when you're at the grocery store and they're asking if you want a wee bag.
For what? Like a potato?
So it's basically a way to like say whatever you want to say in like the most non-threatening or aggressive way possible.
It's the emoji of words to make it seem less threatening.
Yeah, it's like adding a smiley face at the end of your sentence. Like, it's like how. Yeah, no, it just softens what you're saying.
Okay.
Saying we, otherwise saying what's the crack's another one there. That's a big one.
The what?
That I started saying ironically. What's the crack?
What's the crack?
What's happening?
Like it's spelled CRAIC. Yeah, CRAIC. What's crack?
What's crack?
What's crack, lads?
Oh, listen to you. You got it all slick. You sound like you're in Snatch.
And that just means like,
throw a wee oodle noodle ad out there, your M-Chuck. Do one of those.
I get a wee oodle noodle ad out there, mate. That's us now, Tyler. Let's fucking go.
14 locations in Edmonton, none in Ireland. Oodle Noodle, the best noodle shop in the city. There's your Oodle Noodle ad.
Your wee oodle noodle ad.
Sometimes this podcast is like we're just sitting here hanging out, and then a friend throws an ad in, and you remember you're on a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We could name this one like a wee episode of Real Life or something like that.
The Return of Wee Coom.
The Return of Wee Coom. So bad. See, the accent will come out for me if I'm out drinking with other people and I'm chatting with them, and then they're talking like this, and then I'm like getting excited, and then I'll start talking about it too. But here, if I'm doing it, it sounds very forced. So if anybody hears me talking, they'll be like, "Fuck, this guy's just like trying way too hard to imitate the accent."
One of the things used to drive me nuts when all my friends went traveling when they were younger and I didn't because I worked, was they would come home and they'd been gone for like 3 weeks and they had an accent.
No.
And I'm like, nope, you didn't go to England for 2 weeks in July and come back with a fucking noticeable accent in September. You fuck. There is no way. So I respect the fact you didn't turn into like mid-90s Madonna and have a full British accent when you got back.
No, it's just like if I throw back like 8 Guinness and jump on the phone with like one of my friends back there and we start going back and forth, and the accent will probably come out. But if I'm talking with you guys and I'm talking in the accent, that means I'm trying way too hard.
That's so stereotypical that you will phone your friends back in Ireland and then just crush Guinnesses yelling at each other.
Well, that's what we did during the lockdown. Is like we just go out and get a bunch of Guinness and just get fucking in one like every night in the lockdown.
Really?
What's the food situation like over there? If you're out like let's say you're out doing a session, you got a big one going, you're having yourself a big Saturday or something.
A wee Saturday.
A wee Saturday.
A big wee Saturday.
What are you doing? Like, there's no wee donairs over there.
Yeah, just steaming. For me, we found this really good pizza place near our place called Apache Pizza because
they have pizza there.
Pizza there fucking sucks, man. Like, you get like a Domino's or a Pizza Hut, and it's just not good. But we found Apache. This place it's pretty solid, but otherwise, like a kebab was a big go. Like, it's your standard like European style fucking kebab where like I would always get the mix one where you get the beef and the chicken and they put it on top of a thing of chips. That's another huge thing there is they put chips on fucking everything. Like
chips or fries?
Like thick cut chips. Not fries, like thick cut fucking like potato chips.
A thick cut Lay's chip.
No. See, I thought this was a joke when I first moved there too. I was like, no, it's not chips, it's fries. No, it's chips.
Fish and chips is actual fries or chips?
Chips. Like, it's not fucking crisps. Like, crisps are chips.
Well, crisps are chips. Well, chips are chips, and fries are also what?
If you went anywhere, you could
go outside. Don't go inside. Chips are chips. Crisps are chips.
One thing that freaked me out was how you get fish and fries, as I'll call it, in newspaper.
Yeah, it's good, man. Like it keeps the oil in, and it just
it does.
It just gets you so greasy.
But I was like, you can't just take newspaper and wrap shit in it. They're like, what are you talking about?
There's other posh chippies that do the fish and chip in a box, and it just doesn't taste that good. Like it tastes like nothing. And then you go to a greasy little place, and wrap it up in like a newspaper from 2003. And
what the fuck?
You open up the newspaper and it's fucking stuck to your fish and chip, and you open it up and it's like Princess Diana's been killed, and you're like, oh fuck, and then you eat the fish and chip.
It's just a little taste of the ink from the newspaper does it for you. Just a little hint.
The fish and chip is the thing there, man. Like it's unreal.
I remember being served in Amsterdam fish and chips with mayonnaise and ketchup in a cardboard cone.
Yeah,
and having my mind blown.
It's just all over your hands.
I'm like, what is happening right now? Same exact fries as home, just in a different container. Mind blowing.
Anything else weird in terms of food? Like you walk around, they put a potato in your hand or something like that? Like is you're looking for a snack?
No, but seriously, they do the chips with everything. So like I'll call them fries for your guys' sake, but imagine huge honking fries chips. So people will order a Chinese there, and you're getting
Chinese.
That's what they call it. They're like, we're gonna get a Chinese.
Is that like getting noodle type stuff?
Yeah, like your standard
chicken fried rice.
Yeah, chicken fried rice, like
Chinese.
And they call it getting a Chinese.
They're like, oh, we're gonna go get a wee Chinese. And it's just an insane thing to say. But that's what they all
that
say
makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, it's weird. So
that's what always blows my mind when you go to a place and like if you think you're gonna go to Ireland, you want to eat Irish food, but you end up having like the best Indian food you've ever had, right?
One of the things they have there, amazingly, shockingly, because this place is so devoid of flavor. They're so whitewashed, right? Everything's so plain. But there is this unbelievably good Mexican place called Boojum.
I was going to ask if there was good Mexican food, but I was like, no, they'll laugh at me. That's a dumb question.
It's shocking.
No dumb questions here.
Burrito place called Boojum, and I would go there like every week. It was unreal. So this guy from Belfast moved to California, I don't know, probably in the 80s or 90s or something, and came back in the 2000s and started up like a kind of like a burrito libre thing there. And it's just amazing. Wow. And it's all over Ireland. It's unreal.
Has it blown up? Like, is it a popular business?
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's like a big. They're also like they have a big heart on there for supporting local shit. So like, there isn't that many like McDonald's or like Burger Kings around. Everyone's really into.
I love running into a McDonald's when I'm traveling somewhere and I go and have a glass of normal and a plate of delicious.
Or I also like I love going into McDonald's in other countries to see the weird regional items that they have. That's my favorite thing to do in McDonald's in other countries.
I only went to McDonald's, I think, 2 or 3 times when I was there. Because there's so few of them.
Yeah.
People, they love their local shit there.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
Well, we slowly getting towards the end of the podcast here.
We're at the end of the podcast.
Pardon?
We're at the end of the Wee podcast, mate.
End of the Wee podcast. Am I allowed?
Fuck off around your own door there, Tyler.
Coom, I don't even think the listeners are going to be able to like make out what you're saying when you talk like that.
People even know what I'm saying at the best of times. Like
last time you were on the show, Coom, we just talked gibberish for a while, you and I, and someone DM'd me and goes, the only people who wanted to listen to what you and Coom were saying were you and Coom.
Yes.
And I was like, I think that was one of my favorite episodes. So fuck you.
That was one where you just talked about conspiracies like the whole show.
Hypotheticals and conspiracy.
And then what's happened since then with the world? Like, tell me we're not in lockdown, bro.
I was gonna say we should probably have another one of those because I know Coombsy's chock full of new conspiracies with the Rona going around.
A bunch of new content now. It's been a weird year, so also read a lot of books recently, so that's always dangerous.
So there's like 10 minutes left in the podcast here, and there's a few things I want to get to, but I do want to talk about one Oilers thing and the Baggedmilk. I know this was driving you nuts as well. People are mad that the Oilers signed Adam Cracknell to a 1-year, 2-way deal.
Adam, what's the Cracknell?
No.
Yeah. But to me, like, Baggedmilk, I know you're going to agree with me. It makes no fucking sense why people are mad about this.
No, I mean, like, it was very clearly, at least in my opinion, and very obvious that this was a move for the Bakersfield Condors.
Yeah.
Like, the AHL team does need veteran players to help guide kids into their pro career. So I actually found it to be hilarious how mad some folks were get just in the sense of like, Ken Holland, I can't believe this is what he's doing with free agency. Well, first of all, NHL free agency hasn't even started yet. And then second, like there's still months to go. Why not check off some of this low hanging fruit stuff early on and not have to worry about it anymore? I don't know. I just thought it was really weird. It's like people reacted as though they think Adam Cracknell is going to play alongside McDavid rather than an entire season in Bakersfield. So I just thought it was weird. That's all.
Yeah. The reaction to it was really weird.
Connor McDavid next season, Adam Cracknell or Jesse Puljujarvi?
Wow.
Oh, fuck.
Wow.
Like, if it's not Puljujarvi, like, if there's any... Well, actually, you know what? That would be a hilarious way to troll Oilers fans to just, like, start talking about all the benefits of Adam Cracknell playing on Connor McDavid's right wing.
You should make a case.
Going to the net.
Get people to confirm your hypothesis that it isn't a bad idea.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, Adam Cracknell, he's a cheap guy. He works hard. He might look good up there.
Good Western
Anyone
Canadian
can play
boy.
with Connor. Anyone, even Adam Cracknell.
Anyone except Yessa can play with Connor McDavid.
If Puljujarvi comes back and makes anything of himself, the Oilers are properly managed for the first time in I don't even know how long. The fact that they can make a roster player that would historically have been written the fuck off. If he can come back and play one game, well done.
And even I like the fact that Ken Holland is sending all these kids over to Europe to start the year. They're actually playing somewhere.
Great experience.
Yeah.
Like you should do your Chuck.
I was saying,
Yessa moment.
A couple of days ago, just like how great would it be for a guy like Gaetan Haas where you just get to chill in Switzerland for a few months until the NHL season starts? That'd be sweet.
Send like Evan Bouchard to play for the Belfast Giants.
Go and get a Chinese, you'd be living.
And he can learn the difference between chips and fries like I did.
But hang on, go back for a second. Were you saying that if you order Chinese food, that you will also get fries or chips or whatever we're talking about?
That's what I was saying. People, so imagine ordering like, I don't know, like sweet and sour chicken. And they're like, you want that on rice or do you want it on chips? People will be like, chips.
What the fuck?
So they get sweet and sour.
That's so weird.
But they get it with everything. And we always laughed at it. And then, so we would do this pizza order that was like, it was a large pizza and it came with like, you know, garlic bread, chicken poppers, and chips for some reason. And then it'd be like, why the fuck is there chips? But then all of a sudden we'd open this pizza order and, you know, we'd probably have just smoked a bunch of weed. And then we'd just be like both going for the chips rather than touching the pizza or the poppers or anything. And it was like, man, the chips just get you. They're so fucking good.
They know how to do it, man.
There's a difference in the potato quality, obviously.
I guess. I don't know.
Or maybe the treatment of the potatoes is different.
Just like the cows, the potatoes get to live a very quality life where they're roaming around the fields in like Ballymena or something and enjoying.
How is the weed over there?
It took us a long time to find good weed there because there's a whole big backstory to weed there that involves like the IRA and the UVF, and it's very complicated.
Now you're
quagmire.
And now you're home and you could just go to a store.
Yeah, no, it's a totally different animal. I can go get a nice like pre-rolled joint or some fucking.
Except you can't because you're not allowed to leave your house.
Yeah, that's
true. I can't, but I can get it dropped off if nobody has anything going on today. Then
I'm pretty busy. Got to edit this podcast.
You're not.
You
don't do anything.
I'm editing the podcast.
What are you going to take out of this masterpiece?
I'm going to put a couple things on there to make it pop, make it sound better.
Upload
it. Got to get some promo done.
WAP.
Should we take out that part where I talked about the neighbor being deaf? I kind of feel like in this day and age, you can't say anything about anybody about any topic. Period.
No, I think that's valid because it makes very little sense that a man who's deaf would be going through that many hoops to get you to stop making noise. And I
thought.
I think your point wasn't to make fun of the deaf person. I think your point was some of these residents really don't want this building going up and are going to extreme measures. So I don't think you stepped out of line at all.
Coom, are you finding, because you spend a lot of time online, this is wild times online for offending people, eh?
Yeah, I'd say people are, you know, I don't know, world's a complicated place and people are stressed out, and I guess I'll cut people slack if they're angry about things because life ain't great out there for a lot of people right now.
It's just been like 6 or 7 months of just the stress knob cranked up to the max.
There's, you know, people. The strike in the United States and then controversies and coronavirus has not been handled very well in Western civilization. A lot of people are like facing like evictions and this and that, and money's tight all around. Bad economies. Like I think it's just like I think we're bubbling on the edge of some like very large like revolts from like the working class.
Hold on now, don't end the show. Your Amtrak. This just got good. Go on.
Go on with what?
Continue.
What do you want me to like?
What do you mean? I want you to wax poetic about what you think is happening in the world.
Yeah, the plight of the proletariat, please.
Go on.
Yeah, I'll recite Das Kapital to you guys here. By no means is this an injury to the seller.
I think fully a new world is being born right now, but I don't think humanity heads in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult to predict. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that we're still so shocked at being on the internet and having the access to communicate with each other for the first time ever. Like before, people were so easily just shoved into their own small communities, and now everyone communicates, and it's very jarring, and we don't really understand each other very well.
But we will gain a better understanding of each other now that I can have somebody in Ireland tell me off in real time.
Yeah, exactly.
For real.
Yeah, seriously. It's like once we become more acclimatized to it, unless we become like totally dystopian, like controlled state, then
Interesting.
So
You're a
talk
wise
about this
man.
revolution. What do you think's happening? People are going to flip the fuck out all around the world for the same reason?
No, there's always different conflicts in different places. It's if we just talk about North America specifically, I'd say that the country is built on some very flawed practices that don't treat a certain group of people there the same that others get treated, and I think that they're sick of it.
Is the problem, you think, getting better or worse overall?
I don't think it's gotten better at all, really. I think like the advent of like the prison industrial complex and the like slave class that creates, and the policing in the United States, and just like sheer volume of propaganda, especially now, people, the information they consume is just wildly inaccurate.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's a really abstract issue to get into, but
I think it's a crazy thing to drop a pandemic in a 24-hour news cycle in an era where foreign agents have admittedly created an enormous amount of disinformation that the average Joe has no idea what the fuck's going on.
It's like it's very problematic that I'd say 50% of our voting populace gets all of their information from Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like memes on Facebook.
Memes.
Yeah, just like it's like how many people just go on Facebook and they have like a goldfish in place of their fucking brain, and they believe every random thing they've seen on Facebook completely devoid of context. And it's
The New Observer Republican. I'll trust this publication.
All right. Coom, you're a very wise man. I'm very happy you're back in North America. Hopefully we can have you on the podcast more.
Perhaps.
All right.
Wow.
Mayhaps.
Wow.
Before,
There's a lot of tension on this podcast. It's not sexual tension, but it's tension.
I think
I was
me and
gonna say
Coom
there
have a
is
good
a
amount of
small layer
sexual.
of-
Yeah, me and Coom have a bit of sexual tension.
Yeah, fair. Yaremchuk finds himself with the job of controlling his least favorite podcast around.
I
It would be
enjoyed this
like-
podcast a lot, actually.
If I found myself in the Calgary Flames dressing room and I was being asked to contribute, I'd be like, no, I don't want to be here. In fact, I hope the whole thing tanks. That's
No.
Yaremchuk on this podcast.
I think this podcast. I don't know. I think you're giving me a bad rap here. I think this podcast is pretty good. And when we get the
It is a
banter,
good podcast.
when we get the banter really rolling, I think that's when it's at its absolute best.
You should execute if we're all in the same room.
Yeah.
I have half a mind, Yaremchuk, to fucking make you a foreign correspondent on the far side of this pandemic.
You're
and
gonna
force
ship
you.
me out of here.
I'll take them over across to the Emerald Island if you guys want.
The Wee
The
Island.
Emerald Island. Wait,
The
you're
Wee
taking
Island. That's what I named my
Wee
island in Animal Crossing. Actually, is Wee Island. Do you guys play that at all?
No,
It's
my
Wee
girlfriend
Island?
does. I don't.
So fun.
on Earth.
Tyler, now I'm going to get the show back on the rails so you can read off the locks, the betting thingy, Bob, that you want to talk about for football so you can keep track of it.
Yeah, Baggedmilk,
Oh.
are you participating in this?
No, I
You're
don't know what
not?
I'm talking about.
Oh, but I thought it'd be kind of like a fun rookie thing if every week you gave us like a good NFL pick.
Oh, okay. If you want me to do that, I'll do that. Give me. You can go through Jay Chalmers, and I will. I'll whip one up right now.
Yeah, so here's what we're
And
gonna
then
do.
ask me, Yaremchuk, ask me an NFL question that is so basically simple you can't believe that I can't answer it week after week.
All right.
Yeah.
That actually, I like that wrinkle in all this. I'll give Wanye basic NFL trivia. The rest of us will give you one pick. As always,
Who is Jim Brown?
okay.
Yeah. No, not history, and not players I know because of pop culture. It has to be
You
like
started off your Edmonton radio career with that is so funny to me because it will never go away.
It will never
happened?
go away. That moment will never go away. I didn't know
It's
who
like
Jim
you're
Brown
like Reese
was.
McGuire
I don't
masturbating
know who
in a
Jim
parking
Brown
lot in
is right
Florida.
now. I do not know who Jim Brown is right now.
Jim Brown is one of the best running backs of all time. He also had a very, very successful career in film.
With The
Oh, good for him.
Cleveland Browns,
So Jim
which
Brown
makes him
played.
like all the more noticeable.
Yeah, Jim Brown was he is probably the best Cleveland Brown of all time.
Now, you were what, 15 on the air at TSN when this happened?
Yeah, I had just turned 19, had just gotten my first full-time job in sports radio in a major market. I was working full-time in radio. And Low Tide said something about Jim Brown, and I said, you're telling me there's a guy named Jim Brown that played for the Cleveland Browns. And then it was
adorable.
It was about 15 seconds of silence and then me being ridiculed, and we replay it on the air once a year to mark my anniversary.
You should tell the next time they throw that in your face, ask Low Tide because he remembers everything. When he giggled when I told him what hashtags were and said, I don't like hash. That is literally what he told me. I don't like hash.
He gets really flustered when a new word sort of emerges, and he always tells the story on the air of the time he was talking about playing crib against his wife and talked about how well his wife was pegging. And people made fun of him, and that's what makes him really mad still.
You should introduce Low Tide next time you're on the radio to WAP.
I don't think he's ready for anything like that.
What is that? That CB radio broadcasting frequency?
He'd probably say something about WKRP in Cincinnati. Anyways, back to this NFL thing that I've been trying to get off for 4 minutes here.
Of course.
Every week, all of our betting talk, as always, is brought to you by OddsShark. We're joined by Scott Hastings on Monday. On Thursdays, we're going to give you our locks of the week in the NFL. It's one pick against the spread. If you want to have your own locks of the week, head to OddsShark. It's the #1 spot for sports gambling info and information. If you're going to bet smart, head to OddsShark. Chalmers went first this week. He gave us Bills -6.5. Myself being a massive Bills fan, I love that bet. I went somewhere different, though. Oh, yeah, I'm a huge Bills fan. Fucking Bills Mafia forever. My jacket's over there. I can't go grab it right now. But I went a little bit different. I do like the Bills, but I'm going Eagles -6 against the Washington football team, as they will be known this year. I just think the Eagles are a damn good team, and I think Washington's going to be a bit of a mess. That game could also be a bit of a shootout. Jay bet with his heart, as I think he will a lot this year. He went Browns +8.5. Our rookie, Baggedmilk, is up next. Baggedmilk, I gave you some time there. Do you got a pick for us?
Yeah, actually, you know what? And it's not fair that Jay got to go first because I'm going to say that the Ravens will cover.
Ravens
That's what I'm going
covering. With. Well, there you go.
Yep.
Ravens -8.5 on the spread. Wanye, your basic NFL trivia this week.
Go.
Who are the reigning Super Bowl champions?
Yes, I know. No, wait, I know. Because they've got that new quarterback. He's hot shit. They're bright red. Hold on, I'm working this out.
The quarterback's dad was a Major League Baseball reliever.
Yep.
That is extraneous information.
That would help.
Point. Kansas City Chiefs.
There you go. You got it. Wanye is 1 for 1 on his super basic NFL trivia.
Bet on this too, or what's going on here?
Mahomes is the guy who introduced the Diversity Alliance on the NHL, preempting Connor McDavid in the broadcast.
Yeah. This has been quite the episode of Real Life. I enjoyed it, though. It was a lot of nonsense. It was a lot of fun. Coom, we thank you for your time.
Welcome home, buddy. I'm glad you're home.
I'm very happy you're home. All right, that's going to do it. Episode 212 of the Real Life Podcast, brought to you by Jabba Machinery. Don't forget, it's 10% off their book rates for equipment rentals. You got to get in on that deal. It's too good to pass up. Episode 212 of the Real Life Podcast.
That's us, man.
Is over.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from.